So you saw in the activity, when you let out all of the air from on one side of the balance scale, the balloons with the air still in them dropped down. They were heavier. So air does weigh something. Today, scientists are able to measure exactly how much air a plant takes in. And they've figured out that a tree as massive as General Sherman is taking in as much as 4 pounds of air per day. That's the equivalent of 700 balloons worth of air. Now still, air is very lightweight, but just consider how long trees like this live for. We don't know for sure how old General Sherman is, but similar sized sequoias that have died or fallen over, like this one here, if you count the rings, you find out that a tree General Sherman's size is probably 2,000 years old. So do the math. General Sherman takes in 4 pounds of air per day. Multiply that 4 pounds by 365 days per year. And then multiply that by 2,000 years that General Sherman has probably been alive. That's nearly 3 million pounds of air that General Sherman has taken in over its whole lifetime. Its total weight is 4 million pounds. So, whoa, air makes up most of a plant's weight. 3 million pounds of General Sherman has come from air alone. So what do plants eat? Mystery solved. Or almost at least. Because you could wonder, well, why didn't all of General Sherman's weight come from air? What's that other 1 million pounds of weight coming from? But don't forget, not only are trees taking in air, they're also taking in water through their roots. So now, what do plants eat? Where do they get their weight from? You can answer it. The weight comes from air and water. Now you know. Okay, now remember when I said at the beginning, if you're eating bacon, you could argue to your parents that you're actually eating your vegetables, since bacon comes from an animal, and whenever you trace the food chain backwards, you always wind back up at plants. You could try out that idea on your parents. See if they're convinced. But if your parents know the answer to the mystery of what do plants eat, then one morning, don't be surprised if you show up at breakfast and find this. Here's your breakfast, your mom says, and you'll say, what? There's nothing here but an empty plate and a glass of water. But your parents can argue, well, if you're going to claim that bacon is a vegetable, then we get to claim that vegetables are just air and water. So enjoy your breakfast. Now, I'm sure you realize I'm being slightly silly with all this, because obviously if you just ate air and water for breakfast, you'd starve. But there is a sense in which you do eat air and water for breakfast. It is true that when you eat bacon, you're eating something which originally came from air and water. There's something that plants are doing with air and water. Plants somehow transform air and water into the nutrients eaten by animals and eaten by us. Now, what is this transformation? It seems almost magical. I mean, think about it. How could two substances like air and water, both of which are clear, and neither of them are solid, and yet they could be transformed into wood or leaves, materials that are definitely solid and definitely not clear? That's a whole other set of mysteries. That's a whole part of science called chemistry. It's the study of materials and how they can be transformed into new materials with totally different properties. Now, there's so many awesome things you'll get to learn when you study chemistry. Chemistry really is almost like magic. We'll have some mysteries to help you explore that if that interests you. For now, I hope you'll stay curious and see you next mystery.